AI is something that you and I, and probably a lot of our listeners, have been working with for many, many years. But now there's this popular fascination with these tools, and justifiably so, because all of a sudden now the capabilities that we see with these generative AI models, mind-blowing. So how do you, from a strategic standpoint, how do you balance using advanced technologies, especially when these powerful new AI models come out, with the need to maintain a human touch in marketing?
Yes, no, it's really important. And I for one, I'm not worried about humans becoming irrelevant for quite some time, and probably at some point, but not for a while.
We have varying perspectives. We had in a very recent episode, we had Jeremy Harris, who is an AI safety expert, and so in episode number 668, as well as in an episode from 2 years ago, I can't remember the episode number. And I've thrown out enough episode numbers already that I don't need to give people more. But Jeremy Harris is, and it's good that some people out there are very concerned, but he believes, and he has lots of evidence to back him up, that with the way that scaling these systems up is causing so many more capabilities than we anticipated. And it's chipping away much more rapidly, I think, than people expected, at this set of things that only humans can do that machines can't.
Yeah.
And so, it's interesting that some people take that to mean maybe we only have years, or at least we should be prepared for the possibility, or maybe decades. But yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. And I've even done counter episodes to Jeremy's appearances on here, where I've said I had a couple of episodes called AGI is not near, where I tried to dispel fears of a generally intelligent machine that's more intelligent than us. I think that
what I think really is what's going to happen is it's going to unlock our ability to do things that we enjoy more and are against our strengths. I'll give you a really simple example. One of the things one of the big challenges in the agency world and the creative is figuring out. Let me take one step back. If you look at what makes marketing effective in the real world, one shocking answer for me, and this was after I had published 2 best-selling books and I was relatively famous in a small fishbowl, I learned that 70% of the success of any marketing is the creative. It's actually the picture on the billboard, it's the ad video on the TV and Facebook, YouTube, etc. 70%! And I was like, what? I've been working on the other 30% so far in my life. And so I became obsessed over the last decade about building amazing creative that can be very effective. Now, the thing is, building creative is very expensive. So we'll sit down in a room, we'll have like 12 ideas. We have to kill 10 of them because we can only make 2 of them because it's expensive to make them. Yeah. Then we'll send them to some designers and prototypers over in India or Slovenia because it's like a little cheaper to make digital assets, graphics. They'll make it, they'll send it back 10 days later. And now we have 2 ideas. You have to figure out which one to pick and you go to market. That's time consuming, expensive. And my creativity from 12 got shrunk down to just 2 actually coming live from the whiteboard, right? Now, we replace that. It's like, there's so much generative AI out there. Just log into Midjourney and say, here are my 12 ideas, and in 12 seconds, it will actually visualize them. It will make them real. I need a bunny hopping around, happy Easter, bunny hopping around, and I want chocolate strewn over, and there's like a little rainbow and 2 clouds. Boom, done. And so something where I could only visualize 2 of my 12 ideas, I can visualize 15 if I wanted to. And I can see what they look and feel and experience like. And by the way, I'm like, so my creativity suddenly exploded. So what I enjoy as a human is not the process of building the graphics. I don't enjoy that. What I enjoy is coming up with really interesting ways to connect to another human at the other end. And that's like a really great metaphor for the kinds of things the AI will enable. Like right now, I cannot answer the unknown unknowns. I simply can't. I don't even know what to ask. I don't even, I'm complete. So we had this campaign where we had spent like $60 million over time, and we kept failing at it, and I couldn't figure out why we kept failing at it. By the way, we did segmentation, we did statistics, and we did upper and lower control limits, and we did everything. And we couldn't figure out why we keep failing. And it's like a very frustrating experience. Instead, we just hand it over to a machine learning algorithm and say, hey, here's 3 years worth of data. Figure out why we suck. I don't even know what to tell you why we suck. We just suck. And the thing is, like, a handful of days later, it comes back with like this amazing decision tree. And the first 2 things it says are the most important to getting this right. I hadn't even thought that they should be in the arena of play. Mm-hmm. I hadn't even thought about it. So what happened, instead of being frustrated, this algorithm helped me find things that actually matter. And now I'm having more fun figuring out how to solve those problems. This is sort of 2 really different examples of how I see machine learning as an accelerant to me being able to do things I enjoy a lot more, freeing me up for doing that, versus sort of the mundane stuff of figuring out how do I create a few more reports in R. Like, power to the people, but I enjoy other things in addition to that. So I think machine learning is going to be something across multiple spheres. I spent actually a bunch of time on a project 4 years ago, figuring out how to use data to figure out if somebody's having a stroke. At the moment, you take a whole bunch of brain scans, and then a human has to analyze it. And on average, it takes them 22 minutes or 24 minutes to analyze all that data and figure out if you're having a stroke or not. But the problem is, if you are actually having a stroke, at minute 8, your brain starts to starve of oxygen. So by the time I can come back with the answer, if you are having a stroke, some damage has already occurred.
Jeez.
Now you feed those brain scans as they're happening into a machine that is a machine learning algorithm, and with far greater accuracy than human, it can predict you're having a stroke. Now we've solved a problem that would have caused damage if the human was involved. Now we can minimize that stuff. For me, those are indicators of the direction we're heading in. Yeah. And I'm sort of really excited about it.
You're talking to a techno-optimist host on a techno-optimist show. So that kind of example really brings a big smile to my face. You talking about Midjourney being used to be able to create 12 creatives for an ad instantly, as opposed to creating 2 creatives that take several days to get back to you. That gave me an interesting idea. And I wonder if this is already happening, where we could today in marketing be having custom, never before seen creatives generated on the fly for an individual audience member.
There is nothing stopping us from doing that. I think it's just figuring out how to jury rig the system at scale to be able to do that.
Exactly. It has to have
but at the moment,
boundaries.
You're really right. The first decade or so of the web, digital, we were all so excited that we could do personalized web pages, personalized creative in advertising. And that dream died an ugly death because, let's say, 1 million people come to Super Data Science podcast website every month. And we wanted to create, let's say for 1 million people, hyper-relevance would be 100,000 different types of the same page. That's fine. 100,000 for 1 million is great. The problem is you cannot create 100. You cannot create 100,000 pages. You simply can't. And so, but going forward,
for our listeners, where I'm not even going to cut and edit it because it's so funny. But Avinash thought that he'd scared my dog who's sitting on a chair next to him, but in fact, it's just the dog walk. Our dog walker Janine has arrived to pick him up.
We should leave it in. This is good.
No,
good stuff.
We'll leave it in. It's all organic.
So I think that the challenge with making personalization was just content. We couldn't produce that much content. But now with AI, both on the text as well as creatives, it is actually entirely possible for us to create. And I think the thing we have to explore now is what kind of things do we want to personalize? What will people be most comfortable with? And what's going to be delightful versus not like, wait, what? So I think we have to think those kinds of things through as humans and then build an experience. So for example, one thing that is very successful is, let's say I've visited the website of Expedia 3 or 4 times. At the end of it, Expedia's homepage actually completely shifts to vacations on island resorts. because it's the only thing I've shown any proclivity towards. And so all the mountains are out, all the historic destinations are out, everything's out.
Right.
And that is good personalization because you understand. And now you can start using AI to create all kinds of really interesting text or creative to make that even more relevant to me. So that's like a really great example where it would totally doable now and actually put in market. But on the other hand, if it's like, we're going to use something Avinash did 6 months ago, and now we're going to make him a creative, and it's no longer any relevant to me, that would annoy me. So I think we have to think those things through.
Yeah, there's pieces to figure out.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
but we have the data and the tools now to actually do personalization in a way that we've never had.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the kind of thing. I wasn't at Omnicom for very long, but it was the kind of thing that it was this recurring thing.
Yeah.
People would come to you and say, "Yeah, you're the data scientist here. How can you make this happen?" And I was like, "There's no way. What are you talking about?" And now you can do it.
You can do
absolutely. And now it's getting all those guardrails in, making sure that you're not annoying people, making sure that you're not offending people.
That's right.
That you need to be confident about.
Yes.
Awesome. So really exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing how these kinds of tools continue to change marketing analytics in the future. So we've now, with this idea of mid-journey and custom creatives, we've gone a little bit into the future, into what's possible in marketing. Do you have any other ideas of what could be unfolding over the coming years? What's exciting in machine learning and AI in marketing?
So one of the easier answers in marketing is, how is this channel performing? Or how is email marketing doing? Or how is my website or store doing? I call these siloed answers. So in individual silos, it's not that hard to get an answer around effectiveness or efficiency. So that's easy. What is harder is to say, how does my digital presence work with my retail stores? Now you're asking a harder question. Or you can say, how I spend $1 million on Facebook, $1 million on TikTok, $1 million on Google. Do I need to spend $3 million on digital marketing? Actually, the answer turns out, no. You can spend 1.7. Now you're beginning to ask portfolio questions. So what I'm really excited about machine learning is, in the past, we were not able to answer portfolio questions with a degree of cleverness required because the type of analysis you need to do, the amount of complexity that is hidden inside the data you have to unpack is extraordinary. No matter how big a brain you have and how experienced a data scientist is there. It's like you've got, in a very simple problem, you've got 7 or 8 dimensions being influenced by 60 variables. I mean, it's just, and that's like a simple one. The complexity explodes as you go to portfolio level decisions. And what I'm most excited to invent over the next 2 years, let's say, very short-term horizon, is figure out how to use Bayesian belief networks and figure out how to use some of these other algorithms to make portfolio level decisions in a very clever way. So a very simple example is some of the most sophisticated answers you need to do in marketing analytics for CMOs, CEOs, and CFOs is done using something called media mix models. You understand across a whole bunch of things what's actually how to attribute value to the activity that you're doing across owned, earned, and paid activities you're doing. And media mix models used to be done using traditional statistics and priors and all those kinds of things. And what we did in our work and what we do at Croud is actually hand all that over to machine learning algorithms and say, hey, you figure these things out. And the complexity they can analyze and absorb is extraordinary. And not only are they able to answer the portfolio question, which is, your marketing added 27% of net incremental sales at a cost per incremental sale of $50, let's say. But by the way, here's the contribution of television. Here's the contribution of email. Here's the contribution of billboards. Here's the contribution of Google.
The incremental contributions.
Exactly. That is just amazing. And the cherry on the top, what we've done is we built like a simulator on top of all this data. So we can look forward and I can go in and say, I would like to sell 10 million phones and I want my brand consideration to go up 6 points. You can put in simulation. The simulation runs hundreds of scenarios. You tell it how much risk you're willing to take. You say, I would like medium amounts of risk. And it'll spit out and say, in order to accomplish these business goals in the future, you need this much money. Here's how you should allocate it. These are kind of things you can do. That is transformational. because you're not relying on human gut anymore. It's science telling you what you should do. It doesn't mean that as a opinionated CMO, you can't say, no, 10 more million on TV. Fine, but at least your starting point is not all gut-based. Yeah, it's based on these sophisticated algorithms.
The opinionated CMO likes their mom seeing the ads on TV.
Yeah. By the way, not you're joking, but in some instances
that happens, right?
The CMO has insisted to me radio works. We'd analyze all kinds of data. It didn't work. So what we would do is we bought advertising on the radio stations along the commute of the CMO. So the CMO would hear radio ads.
Exactly.
But there was no proof it worked anywhere else. We didn't spend on it. So it's not a joke. We do that sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I believe it. It's amazing how, people, unlike machines, or as far as we're aware, unlike machines, humans have these, these very touchy-feely things about, their personal experience, and they want to hear their brand on the radio on their commute. Exactly. And they want their mom to say, "Oh, I saw your new ad, and you look great in it on TV." So people with big budgets, they do make those kinds of decisions, even if it's not purely rational for the business.
I said, look, today, if you look at an average American Fortune 500 company, maybe 30% of the marketing allocation execution is data influenced. The rest is not. My goal is very simple. Flip the thing. It's about 60 to 70% of marketing should be data influenced. Then you still got 30% of the spend, which you can do based on opinions, hypotheses. You can run experiments. You can try crazy stuff. And you can make sure that your best friends and your mom see your ad. That's okay. That's okay. My hope is sort of very humble, because you're right. You have to figure out how to solve that human problem. Sometimes I'm way too analytical as somebody on the spectrum. It's like I want to follow the data and logic, and I've sort of trained myself to say, no, you have to be perceptive to these kinds of human needs. So I set a target, 70% data influenced, or if you're really good, 80% data influenced. That's still 20% of the budget to try all kinds of crazy imaginative things and innovate.